Okay, everybody, there is no rule as to whether you are supposed to use a loop leash versus a latch, okay? There are going to be dogs where a loop is better, and there'll be dogs where latching is better. That comes down to recognizing and kind of reading that animal best. A dog like Coda, who has a very thick, full coat and has issues of space invaders, doesn't need someone looking around for a collar and a ring. So clearly you would loop. There's some things about loop leading that I've started to tell my volunteers, and I just want to cover that with you guys. When you loop, basically two things. You try to hold where you're looping. When you're just doing this, it becomes too floppy and in their face. So as long as you kind of hold it, you can open up the loop so it's nice and wide rather than long, okay? Space invaders don't like all that stuff coming in their face, and you see that all the time, right? You go to loop and the dog's like doing all this and pulling away. So you're trying to come in nice and wide like this and from below, and you'll almost always catch them at the very least. And you don't tend to go, when you go this way, you end up going over their shoulders and it ends up going around the body, and you miss the dog completely and he's loose. When you coming up like this, at least you catch under the chin and then you can tighten, okay? My leather lead doesn't work as smoothly as, say, the nylon leads. A lead that has a knot will always get jammed. So this is kind of going to that, be aware of your surroundings first, meaning when you grab that lead, pay attention. Oh, yeah, this one's terrible. Let me try this one. Oh, yeah, this one will work, but boy, it's short. I can barely even get it and then have anything, so I need to find another lead, one that works better, okay? And that's part of that, like I say, being aware of your surroundings. Make sure you're choosing the right equipment before you start. The other thing is, when you're removing your loop or your latch lead, this is probably one of my more important points for down the road, and that is don't let the dog think he's escaping you. And I've seen this again from everybody. So what happens is they have this around the dog's collar and then they're trying to unlatch it, and there's this happening, and it's this quick kind of remove off the dog's neck. We've had too many incidents, close calls, where the dog's going to snap at that last second. And then you think, okay, well, he's one of those dogs that snaps at the last second, so you start doing it faster and faster, and meanwhile the dog keeps trying to catch up faster and faster, and by the 5th or 50th volunteer who's now handled him, he's going to bite under those circumstances. It is about unraveling gently, even a little bit of, see, if I still have the dog attached, and I know I now need to unloop him, I'll give him, even Coda, or, you know, I'll give him a little, oh, how you doing, buddy, kind of, yeah, and as I open it, and then I can remove, and I don't get that pull away, I don't get that feeling, the dog doesn't get that feeling of I almost escaped you, or I'm going to escape you, or I did escape you. And then they give you a dirty look as soon as you've released it, or they snap in the air. It's the same with the cages. When we slam those cages, they get this feeling and it intensifies each time someone's handling them. Next thing you know, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks into the dog's being here, they're pulling a bite on a unnecessary cause, and that was just this feeling that kept intensifying. Going back to our quick jerky movements, right? They're going to startle a dog, while slow, cautious ones are going to frighten them. So the quickness or the slow and caution are both really unnatural movements, and dogs get a little freaked out by them. So again, it goes back to that kind of fluid, natural movement when you're interacting with them. Fear biters are the most common type that we're going to see around here. We have some of the pushy dominant ones, but fear biters are pretty common. I am shocked at the number of dogs who appear to be fear biters and never bite in this place. Would you agree there are tons of dogs who are very fearful and yet they've never bitten, and they've been pushed. They've been pushed, whether it's vaccinations, whether it's evaluations, whether it's the cleaning and the escaping, whether it's the picking up. And that's just the unfortunate rule here. We have to do things that push a dog to his limits. But for these fear biters who've not bitten, when they leave this place, that may come full cycle. And they may end up being returned 2 weeks down the road because they bit. So the difficulty in knowing about fear biters and being able to avoid a bite, I will tell you this. So many dogs are kennel trained or kennel conditioned, which means you in the blue with the this and the confidence, and you're doing your job and you're being distracted or inattentive. The dog's just like, okay, and just kind of allows you to do stuff that he normally wouldn't allow once he's in his home. So we have that kind of shell shock attitude that we see here a lot. And once they get into a home and become confident, know what's going on, all of a sudden their little attitudes come out. And we realize they're still fear-based dogs, but they've got now a little attitude because they're confident in where their surroundings are. Where they were here, and we push them. I mean, we push them way past what should have been their level of tolerance, and they never bit. So we think they're really safe. This goes both ways. We have dogs who bite in here without a thought and may go into a home and never bite. And then we have dogs who've never bitten in here and may bite out there. The rule is, or the point is, that every single one of these dogs has a tolerance somewhere. It's about figuring out where that is. So our fear biters may be most common, but we don't always see the bite here. All right, but they still are fear biters. You're going to see that down the road on certain dogs' paperwork that you think, but I've pushed and handled this dog numerous times. Why would she have fear biting, highlighted? Because it's going to happen. Just maybe not in this surrounding because of that conditioned behavior. Okay, we see this a lot from our Louisiana dogs that have come out of shelters. That the moment you pick them up, they go, okay. Yeah. Like they literally know the drill. And then the moment you release them, woo! And they're like running around having a great old time. You pick them up again and they're like, okay. So that's still a fear biter because he may be conditioned to behave for the vet check, as we call it, or but he'll only allow that. Does that make sense? He'll only allow that control for that short period of time. Anything after that is now pushing past his tolerance. So fear biting is a big problem, always. It will always be. It'll always be your number one concern. And you will always be, as I am, shocked at the ones who don't do it when you swear everything in their body language is telling you they're going to bite. But you can't rely and trust that they won't bite. You have to still think and respect and engage and respond to what they're doing to help them appear and get a little better while they're in here. Okay, cornered dogs are a risk. Whether they are fearful or whether they are dominant, a cornered dog is a problem. And that means the dog should always feel he has an escape route. This might be new to all of you as a mindset, as something to just, oh yeah. So when you're approaching, whether you're looping or latching or whatever, and you are blocking that cage, he has no escape route. Unless you do this. Hey buddy, here. When you do this, he has no escape route. You are directly on top of him. When you do this, he feels he can escape just as easily if you were here or here. Okay? You're just making him feel like he has that escape route. super important for bite prevention. When you're going into the corner, that dog's pulled himself all the way back, you just, hey bud, you always allow that feeling of an escape route, okay? All right. Do not enter a dog's kennel suddenly without his knowledge or acceptance of your presence. Now, acceptance doesn't mean he's just a happy panting dog doing, come on in. It's acceptance of your presence. Okay? And anybody question what that means? That simply means, right, he knows you're there, he's accepting that you're there, that you're probably coming in, he kind of has an idea of all of this, right? Okay. That definitely would have saved you an incident. Escapees happen to everyone.
I had one this morning.
I was going to say, anyone not had?
I have that. Oh yeah.
Was that a no or a yes? Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually kind of funny because I was cleaning Falcon
Yes.
and I had the latch down. So
Yeah.
And I hit it with the squeegee and I guess it bounced it up. And
Correct.
he's out. The guy that does the quarantines, the health unit guy.
Oh,
I said, okay,
no.
heads up, he's coming through. And he's like,
Oh, no, yeah, of course, not a good, oh, man. Well, they do. They happen to everyone, and, you know, if a dog's gotten out of his cage, you got a couple of options. One, these dogs have all been conditioned at that back blue door.
There.
Yep.
We all know it, right?
Yeah.
Hey, let's go outside, get your loop lead ready,
Yep.
and do that. And you know what, sometimes it might be worth, especially if he's an experienced escapee, it might be worth letting him out. Because he's just going to be in a very kind of agitated state if you just try to put him back in. He's like, I was this close! And the dog may really have to go to the bathroom. Not because he has to go to the bathroom, but because he had the opportunity, ooh, so close to go to the bathroom, and now you're going to remove it from him. He may not have the capability of holding it because he was that close. It's like going to the bathroom and then all of a sudden you find out it's locked. Oh no! And only a few of us know what that feels like. If you're one, you got it. Okay, so escapees happen to everyone. Use the back corner, and that's usually your best bet. If they are trying to slip out of their collar, what don't you do?
Yeah.
What? Never yank, never pull, because it's just going to help him pop it off. You feed him the lead, and you back up with him until you can get that sideways and change direction and pull him that way. But if he's backing up the second, and it's so natural, we see everyone do this, the dog starts to bulk or freeze, right? And the people start pulling, and the dog's like, well, thank you. Just, you know, kind of drops his head and the thing just comes right off, right? So be aware that we've all had it happen. It's going to happen to you again sometime in your future, but use your back door, use your loop lead, but give them what they really wanted at that moment, because otherwise it's going to become a problem. Okay, two dogs are loose and fighting. Please don't reach between them. Ever have two dogs fight?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
No. In personal life or here?
yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes?
Well, just like seeing it.
Okay. You said no.
Yes.
You said yes. You said no. Okay, you said yes. What did you do?
I sprayed the hose.
You sprayed the hose. That is, remember I said earlier, that is a hard correction. That is reserved for serious cases only. We're trying to come up with the answers without having it take at that point, but that is what you might have to do.
This is stupid, but I just like shove myself between them, not with my hands, just like with my body and like back one away. I don't know.
Okay,
But,
intimidation.
yeah.
Yes, intimidation works. But that might have been in a personal home, or that might have been here. Where was that?
I think it was here.
Doesn't-
I don't know.
All right,
Yeah, no, I won't do that,
Okay, that intimidating,
but,
okay, technique, it does work. Or it really gets you into trouble.
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like one or the other. You don't get an in between.
It's the luck of the draw there.
Yeah, it usually works, or you get bit bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to really know the dogs that you're attempting to
Yeah.
use that on, right?
No.
What'd you use? 2 dogs.
First I hollered,
Yep.
Yell, yeah.
and they stopped for a second, and then the other one went back at him. So I yelled again, and when the one backed up, I put my foot in there and kicked the other one away.
So, causing a commotion. Okay? So intimidation is one thing. That's like, rah! Works. Okay? Big correction like the hose. That's an environmental correction. It's really not you. Okay?
Like a spray bottle.
It is. The reason spray bottles stop working is because their nice kind owner goes, spray, spray, and the dog learns, starts catching it, right? The spray bottle needs to be on the zipper, you know, the stream, and it's gotta like, you gotta be like, you know, fast hand. Oh, are you okay? Dog looks around, where the heck did that come from? So that's a technique as well. It's like called startle and coddle. Oh, buddies, oh, are you okay? And they're like, holy smokes, something's happening here. Great technique. I use that technique for lots of stuff. Works like a charm because it doesn't make me the bad guy. I like to be liked. Okay, it doesn't make me the bad guy, and it makes the dog believe I know something he doesn't. Holy smokes, the roof was caving in. Ooh, come to her. So techniques that are out there, there's intimidation, there is environmental correction, there is causing a massive commotion, right? Big rattling of cages, bowls, those kinds of scream, you know. But once usually the commotion, you already said it, then they go back, they re-engage in the fight. So you have to try, sometimes in that case, you try that, going back to the household kind of command. Hey, you guys want to go outside? And they're like, yeah. Oh, it's a cookie! You want to fight? No? Yeah, let's go get a cookie. Sometimes that will work. Now, the other thing is sometimes you have the meaner dog and the poor little victim over here. And this little victim's like, I'd love a cookie right now, but I'm kind of busy. And then you got the meanie one going, I've been waiting all week to do this opportunity. You know, I'm not giving it up yet. So the cookie thing, nobody listens to you. It's worth a shot. It's worth your voice. That's all it is, maybe while you're running towards them anyways, right? At that point, the intimidation process might work. Where you're, Gah! And you're like charging at the one who's starting it. Not the poor victim on the floor, obviously. And it does work, but I'll tell you this, I put my hand between dogs, yeah, and the dog just went, to get around me. So you gotta be very, very careful of the reach in. Now, if you are bit, have you been bit?
Once, yeah.
Oh, that's right, no, yes. Yes,
Yes.
okay. Now, what was your bite?
It was a Shih Tzu,
Evil little beast.
and it was going to a rescue.
And
Jeanette let it out, and I had to go and catch it and put it in the carrier for these
so you have to scoop up this frightened, running away,
Yeah, which hated me anyway.
hated you anyways, and you kind of walked into it going, I'm going to get bit.
Well,
There's
I
a
was
higher chance.
hoping that I wouldn't.
Yes,
but
of course.
I'm like, okay.
Yes.
And it was coming over to me,
Oh.
and I had it, and I picked it up, and I went to put my arm around it, and went
Yeah.
on my finger.
Yep.
So obviously,
Yep. 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 I always, when I carry, I usually carry from underneath, and I'll scoop a thumb into their collar.
I didn't have one.
Okay. Or maybe under the right leg, you know, if it's on the right side.
See, I had it like that,
Yeah.
but then I went put the
Yeah,
arm around.
yeah, because space
That's
invader,
what I
yeah. You know, you think they're up in the air, like really at that point, remember that conditioned kind of good behavior with the kennel stuff, you'd think, I'm in the air. It's not much, but we've had lots of dogs who want to bite even when they're in the air. So you can't rely on a dog being in your arms as being safe. Just a side note for you as well. Yourself?
Mine was Chica, that bull terrier thing
Yeah.
was here a while ago.
Okay.
It was just like, there was blood in the cage, so me and Dana, like the vet tech, went to go look at it. So she was like, oh, like, can you just hold it? Like, I'll try to look. I was like, yeah, sure. So we tried to do that, and it was just crazy. Like, I didn't want to be held or anything. And then just us trying to, like, just holding it by the collar, like, trying to, like, put it back in its cage, and it would just, you know, as soon as you do that, and it's like, okay, and then as soon as you back away, then you would come after you and you just grab my arm.
The escaping. Remember, we were talking about that feeling of escaping, for
Yeah.
sure. So collar grabbing is a biggie. That's a big problem these days. And
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
If I got a short distance to move a dog
yep.
and it's small and friendly or whatever, is it okay to just leave them with the collar, with your hand?
So
With no leash, you just grab another collar. Not putting any pressure, but just letting them walk and guiding them.
So there's a couple of answers to that. One is, every time you interact with an animal, you have to make a decision as to what's the best way and the safest way of handling him. If you're going into it with some good knowledge, background, some experience, some awareness, you know, and you're saying, I've interacted with this dog a lot, I'm confident I can move him by just holding his collar. Something like someone else coming in with an animal at that moment in time is where you may get caught.
Right.
Because now the animal's feeling vulnerable or threatened from the other,
Nowhere to go, right?
and you've got nothing other than a hand in a collar too close to a mouth, where hypersensitive dogs may react. Let's use another example, the gate hit him on the tush on the way out. If this dog is slightly hypersensitive, you hear that high-pitched squealing, and the dog is going to lash out at whatever happens to be there. When your hand is so close to a collar and only a collar, it is so convenient to bite. It's just right there waiting for it. So I generally say no, but I can see that there will be times where it's
Yeah.
that's why my leash is here. Because I'm really never without it. Like, all joking aside, do I sleep with it? I've been known to. So, I mean, you know, when it's always, and you're in the world of working with animals, I don't understand why you don't have something a little more convenient like that. So it's just there for you as you need it.